I did a thing, so I kind of had to. I kind of wish I didn't, but then I kind of had to at the same point. I was having a lot of dry skin left over from the radiation or the chemo or whichever it was. For some reason, I just couldn't get rid of it. They recommended putting some of these lotions and moisturizers like directly in my hair, and then through my beard and stuff. But it just still wasn't helping. I could just scratch my face and just the skin would just rub right off. So this is the only way that I could actually shave it down so I can put some of that on. Wash my face with a moisturizer soap, things like that. To get that go away. So I did that. It's obviously I could have these jewels that the beard was covering up and the additional chins. So those would be like my tree rings. So I'll know how I'm losing or gaining weight. But I am down 10 pounds. The biggest thing, all my weight gain. I was originally about 200 pounds about 5 years ago. And then I quit smoking and I went up to 230, 230, 240. Yeah, I'd fluctuate. And then when I got the cancer, then the steroids they had me on, they just because I had no. Most people lose weight during their treatments, and I didn't. I would put 30 pounds on in just a blink of an eye. So I was just shy of 300 pounds at my heaviest. I like I said, I kind of joked. My wife had said that I'm gonna get to 300 pounds, and I'm like, no, I'm not. And she's like, well, if you do, she goes, I get to dye your hair blue like the blueberry girl off of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So I was like, all right. So I went in the hospital, the doctor's office one day, and I was 299.9, and I was thankful. So, but like I said, I'm 290 now. So I am on the downswing. The one medicine they had me on, prednisone, I can handle, but they had me on uh, dexamethasone, I believe the name of it was. That steroid was also a steroid that would help with the neuropathy I was having from the damaged nerve from the metastasized cancer that was pressing against the nerve that would make my arm hurt. It worked wonders. However, literally, I would shovel the food in. I couldn't eat enough food. I would make, I don't know if it's a Pennsylvania Dutch thing or what, but my mother used to, when I was a kid, would make me hot dogs and baked beans over toast. Well, I'd make 5 hot dogs, 5 pieces of bread, and a large can of baked beans, like a number five can of baked beans. And I think it's a number five, the large cans. And I'd eat the whole entire plate, and then I'd go in the kitchen to make a hamburger. And I was hungry. I mean, I was literally hungry. I wasn't just eating because I was like bored or felt like I could eat. Like I was, it was bad. Um, and then I walk around feeling like I ate Thanksgiving turkey, Thanksgiving dinner, my stomach would hurt that bad. So anyway, so then there were other problems because I gained weight so fast. I have a muscle. Your side of your stomach has, you have your six pack in the middle, and then you have three smaller muscles on the side here, right before you get those muscles that go down the side of your stomach on the outside. The one muscle on my left side on the top one right below my ribs, it is hurts so bad to the point where I didn't know if it actually was my muscle because when I cough it would hurt and then it would hurt more when I would eat, the pressure. So I didn't know what was going on. My stomach always felt quite distended. My stomach would be hard. Uh, so I end up going to this is where all my additional doctor appointments start coming in. I was getting lab work done. I was getting ultrasounds. I was getting scans. I was getting X-rays. I was seeing a GI. I was seeing all these different doctors to try to pinpoint if is it a hernia? Is it what is it? Some of the results showed that I had my spleen, and my liver were a little bit enlarged in one of them, mainly from fatty deposits, which was from just the excess weight gain. So they didn't see that as an issue. They did see a couple kidney stones, or I'm sorry, not kidney stones, gallbladder stones, gallstones. So I did see a surgeon about that as well, and because there was some confusion because I was also having a lot of back pain and the issue with that muscle on the side. Turned out there was no hernia. The spleen and the liver were fine, because I'm not a drinker, so there was no additional. I had to worry about liver, what is it, cirrhosis or whatever it is. Um, they said the only way it really would get damaged is if I was a drinker or something else. The So it wasn't hernia, it wasn't any of that type of stuff. Um, so it turned out that when I saw the surgeon, by recommendation of my primary care, was that he agreed with me that we didn't need to do anything. Those gallstones were so small and irrelevant. The issue became is when I saw a fill in from my primary care physician the one day, and I explained to them about how I had the stomach pain and the back pain. Well, gallstones, if they do start hurting, will cause stomach pain and back pain. But your stomach pain will be on your right side, and the back pain will be in the upper between the shoulders. My pain was in the lower back and on the left side, so it was totally opposite of what it should have been. So we agreed that the gallstones could have been there for a long time. They just don't bother me. So there's no need to do anything. The the back pain, I'm fairly certain it's just because of the weight gain, because it's after I'm standing so much, or shaving, brushing my teeth, anything that I'm leaning over the sink for, which I believe is, like I said, all because of weight gain. Almost like I'm pregnant, it's just like I had that lower back. Um, so that's what that is, as far as the weight gain. So I'm going to start working my way down. As soon as I switched off the dexamethasone back to my prednisone, I was eating 2 to 3 meals a day. Like I instantly, like that, went right back to eating normal. I'd get up, I'd have, like a BLT, and then a couple hours later, I might have, a hot dog, and then later that night for dinner, I may have some lasagna. Like it, nothing. I'm not a, I'm not a big snacker. If I do, I'll get like 2 hard pretzels and a little bit of ranch dip. I mean, I'm not, I don't sit down and eat a whole bag of chips. I just don't. So those are the good things. I mean, obviously with the results I showed in the last video, the cancer, they don't see any. There's none there. Um, this is the first time though since I've been out of the hot since this all started back in June that I actually feel better than what I felt in June. Like I was, and what I mean is, as soon as I started I mean, I felt bad in June, but as soon as I started my treatments, I just everything seemed to go downhill from there. A lot of it was because of, the one medicine was making me not be able to talk, so I was coughing constantly. And then it was the radiation pneumonitis and the pneumonia and the infection and the weight gain and the neuropathy in my arm. It was the sleepless nights. It was the being tired. It was like the more I did, it seemed like the worse I got. And I couldn't figure out why, because I was beating each step, but then something else was happening. And it was the COVID, and then it was the blood clots. But now that I'm at the port of the blood clots, yes, I'm on the oxygen. I haven't been wearing it. I have a monitor here. I was sitting for quite a while, so like they said, if I'm at rest and I'm okay, I can be without it. I can start to tell when I need it when I'm sitting here. Depends on what I'm doing. But after a while, I will put it on for a little bit. Um, the oxygen, I try not to wear the oxygen much, because what happens is, and it's the same thing with people who wear like this CPAPs or CPAPs or whatever they are, snoring and sleep apnea and stuff. Your windpipes I don't have it, so I don't know the exact terms here, but the piping inside, what happens is it almost becomes lazy, where when you breathe in, it should hold itself open a little bit, but it tends to collapse. So that's where you get that like it wants to, or that snore, that grunt, or those kind of things. That's why people who usually sleep in their recliner, it goes away, because it gives them a different thing. What can happen is, there's a couple ways for a person who doesn't have full apnea or those kind of things. You can actually fix that and the doctor told me this, by taking a deep breath and holding it, so you're forcing your lungs to stay open. It reteaches those windpipes and stuff to support themselves outward. Ooh, to support themselves outward. If you keep oxygen on when you don't need oxygen, because it becomes so lazy for you to have to breathe, those muscles don't, those muscles start to realize that they don't have to work as hard because just the force of the wind, the air blowing in from the oxygen, is kind of keeping them inflated. It's kind of like taking uh, uh, a leaf blower and sticking it inside a garbage bag. It's going to keep the garbage bag wide open. So that's kind of what that does. It keeps them out there. So there's no work for them to have to do to stay open to breathe. Um, so it's not good just to, you just don't, I shouldn't just crank it up to 10, even though I'm only on 3, just because it'll really get the oxygen. It doesn't, it has adverse effects. So you want to use it to stay in the range that you need to and nothing more. So that way you can get off of it and don't have other issues like needing a CPAP or CPAC or whatever they're called, or the sleep apnea, Darth Vader helmets. Um, so there are, good and bad to that. Swelling, I do have quite a bit of. I didn't originally. Over the summer on maybe August, my feet had swollen up a little bit. Might have been a little bit before that, maybe beginning of August. But I believe the reason why is because I started losing the radiation. The chemo can make you start losing uh, your taste buds change a little bit. It's not like COVID where you lose your taste. You can, but your taste buds also change to things that tasted good or now taste bad, vice versa, or you may lose a taste. My issue was I was always a big salt user. I always have been. Um, but all my blood work and from the doctor and stuff, my sodium levels are always good. Matter of fact, they're always on the low side, which is probably why I need the sodium so much and why I crave it so much. And then when I say low side, I mean like I'm always like right on the line to where like it's low. You know what I mean? And those are usually when I'm in the hospital. I'm getting lab work done, and their food only comes so salted. But anyway, regardless of that, I would. My issue with getting the treatments is that I couldn't taste my salt anymore. Like I would put salt on it, and I couldn't. So I ended up putting, to some extent, a lot of salt on it, and I still couldn't taste it. So I kind of cut back on doing that because obviously I couldn't taste it. I didn't know how much I was getting, but then I still couldn't tell how salty my food was. Everybody else in the house has highly reacted to salt. I mean, my wife, she licks a pretzel and she's down for a nap for 5 hours. It just the salt just kills her. I mean, so I'm the only one that really uses salt. So it's not like someone else can test my food because it's always salty for everybody else. The So my feet swelled up a little bit. I had a hard time getting them back down. They gave me a prescription for a water pill. It was 5 days worth. I took it and they were fine. After that, I had a little bit of there was a little bit of swelling left. I could tell just from like if I'd bend down, like the way my knees would bend or something like that. I could tell there was a little bit more tightness there than normal. But I also didn't know that could be also from weight gain too. Same thing with my shoes. Like my shoes seemed a little tighter. Like some of it might have been from swelling, but I there was no way for me to know how much was swelling and how much was weight gain. So anyway, so I didn't need that for quite a while. Well, a few weeks ago, my swelling came back and like instantly, like my feet. Some days by the end of the day they were almost round. I mean, and I'm talking like I don't mean the sides or the tops. I mean the bottoms. Like I felt like I was walking on those Skechers they used to make for to tighten up your butt. Like should have done that. I would just my feet would just roll. They were that bad. By morning they'd be mostly better, but it didn't take long for them to go back up. So they gave me another water pill. I did call the doctor's office. That's what kind of got me started with the cardiologist because they were worried because I was having a hard time breathing and the fact that my feet were swelling. Sometimes that can indicate a heart issue. So I got lined up with the cardiologist. I didn't make the cardiologist because I ended up having the hospital for the blood clots. While I was in the hospital, they did a full EKG, echocardiograms, like they did the whole thing. While I was there, they might as well get them done. So right after I got out, I saw my cardiologist then, and he was impressed. He said, as far as my heart functions, he said, my heart looks fantastic. He said, especially with, with the lung issues, my blood clots that were in my lungs were my blood pipes. They were my oxygen pipes, meaning that it wasn't where my oxygen was getting into my system. It was the blood pumping out to the rest of my body. So even though the blood was oxygenated, it couldn't go anywhere. Like it wasn't. It was restricted to a few arteries or whatever arteries or I know certain ones go different ways, directions and stuff, but whatever they were, they he explained it to me. He said the right side of the heart actually pumps the blood into the lung. The lung then oxygenates the blood, and then it goes back out, and the left side of the heart pumps that oxygenated blood to the rest of the body. Problem is, there wasn't enough blood going back out to get to the left side of the heart to go to the rest of the body. So the oxygen was there, it just wasn't enough supply of blood. So, but because of that, that would typically, my heart would beat also faster. That's another thing. Let me kind of back up a little bit here. My heart rate prior to all this originally occurring back in June was always like really good, 70, 70, 80 beats. I mean, it didn't matter. It was fantastic. I could drink a 6-pack of Red Bull and it didn't matter. I would just maintain a good heart rate. The caffeine never really did anything for me. So when I started taking the steroids would increase my heart rate. So then my heart rate since June has been more like 120 to 140, 145, maybe on the high side, but typically about the range of 127 to 135 would be a good average. When I finally got done with all my steroids, for some reason my heart rate wasn't coming down. So I just figured it would take a while for the steroids to get out of my system. Well, it wasn't. Well, the cardiologist explained to me that was because now, even though I was off the steroids, because I had the blood clots forming, the heart, instead of failing, was beating faster to try to push more through those remaining openings that were left to get the blood to the rest of the body so I could maintain. Unfortunately, then the clots just got too big. I keep hitting my mic. The blood couldn't get out around it anymore or through the other pipes enough. So that's when I got to the point where I had to go to the hospital. But he said because of that, he's jumping back forward now, the current date. He said because of that, normally your heart ends up doing things like it'll back pressure. The valves and stuff start leaking backwards because it's trying to squeeze it in. It's it's kind of like having a garden hose running and try to put your hand on top of it to stop it. The pressure is too big. It sprays out. So there's other things that get damaged because of that. But mine looked good. Like strong beats, everything floating properly. Like it was, everything's opened up. I mean, matter of fact, he said it was so well that he said he didn't really even know what to do as far as a follow up. He said, but just to make sure, he said he'll make sure something else not going on, just not seeing there. He said a few weeks come back. He said we'll put a monitor on you for a day. He said, and then drop that off, and we'll take a look at that and go from there. He said, but at this point, I'm not your doctor, so there's no need for him to be my doctor. So that was good. So that's another thing to check off. So far, no diabetes, lung process is good. There's no cancer to be found. I do have another PET scan on March 11th, and then we'll go from there. Even my pulmonologist said that we'll decide what we do from there. If there's cancer, then we'll schedule or not my pulmonologist, my oncologist. No, it was my pulmonologist. He was originally going to do a bronchoscopy, but because I went in the hospital and I was on blood thinners, they decided not to do the bronchoscopy. What they are going to do is sorry, I'm getting a little brain spastic here. They're going to wait for the PET scan. The PET scans come back, if it's showing anything glowing, then they'll go from there and they'll do the bronchoscopy. If they don't show anything, then they're not going to do it. There's no need for them to do it. And what happens for those that you don't know, the way a PET scan works and why it works well as far as finding cancer is you go on a fast, but you eat a lot of protein and no carbohydrates or sugars, or at least very low carbohydrates or sugars. And right before your PET scan, they give you your sugars, your glucose. And what that does is cancer highly reacts to sugar. It feeds off of it. Now, I'm not saying there's a debate out there as far as sugar actually feeds the cancer, like it helps. That's why people are getting cancer because of the. I'm not saying yes or no to that. I just know I'm not one. I'm not a big sugar eater. I like a cupcake every now and then, but no icing. I'm not. I'm more of a salt person. So the fact that I don't eat a lot of sugar, maybe that's what helped me get rid of the cancer. I don't know, and I can't. There's no way for me to ever know. Only God willing would know that, and I don't. So, but anyway, so it makes it glow. So the PET scan will make that stuff light up like a Christmas tree if it's there. That's why my last one, the first one was all you see all the black that I had circled in my other video, and then this last one that I had, there's like nothing there. I mean, nothing. That's why the radiologist called up and was like, "Wow, like you're dramatically different." So hopefully, knock on wood, that'll be the same. That'll be the same this time. So we're gonna go from there with that. Uh, so we talked about the stomach muscle. The reason what they finally decided on the stomach muscle after checking with the GI, it wasn't the spleen. I mean, the GI said too. She feels nothing wrong. She doesn't think it's this or that or anything. No hernias, no whatever. No ulcers because I was already on one type of reflux medicine, and because I was on that, she said if it would have been an ulcer, that's what they give to heal them. And I've been on it so long that it can't be it's not gonna be an ulcer. So what they believe is the fact that I gained weight so fast that it stretched that muscle too soon and too quickly, so that's why it hurts. So hopefully the loss of weight will help that. My PC, my primary care, did put me on a muscle relaxer, which did help. A muscle relaxer that's actually specific toward the area of the stomach muscles. I just took my last pill this morning of it, and my prescription is done. So we'll find out how I feel. I was a little concerned there for a little bit, only because the past 2 weeks now my rib has started hurting, about 3 ribs up on the left side. I thought maybe I had a broken rib, but I checked some things and then I didn't think that, and I thought maybe it was from the coughing or from the blood clot. Like I didn't know, so that doesn't seem as bad. I can take some Tylenol, it goes away. I'll I'm not worried about a little bit of pain. I'm not, I'll get through the pain. I just want to get better. I'll, I'll, I can manage my pain. I can't do anything about a cough or, or no oxygen, really, because I've tried and it didn't work. So the GI, the cardiologist, the rib. I talked about the weight, the steroids, the seizure. The seizure I talked about. I know I'm kind of all over the place. I'm just kind of explaining what happened. Um, I don't know if it actually was a seizure or if I've never passed out. Well, I shouldn't say that. I passed out one time when I was in high school. It was during we were doing a thing for a pep rally, and we threw a kid up in the air, and he came down and landed on my head and kind of knocked me out. I I hit the floor. I stood right back up. We finished what we were doing. I walked out in the hall, leaned up against the wall, and I was out. Like I don't know how long I was out for or what, but anyway. Um, but that felt totally different. This here felt like almost like I was on the verge of it. Like I wanted to get dizzy. I wanted to pass out. I didn't know what was happening, but I started coughing, and when I was coughing, I hit my fist on the table. Like darn it! Like if I could just get rid of this cough. And when I did, and I hit my fist down, and when I came back, that's when my seizure happened. That's why my hand was up in the air, and because I just got done hitting the table, and I didn't know what was going on, and I was trying to stay awake. I didn't know if I was passing or not, but I was literally stuck in this position, and I was shaking, and I mean literally it felt like minutes because it just felt like it was an eternity. I was trying to fight to wake. I didn't know if I was. At one point, it felt so long. It felt like I was going to stay that way forever. Like it was it was an eerie feeling. So I did come through that, but like I said, it felt like a lifetime. I was stuck in that spot. Um, so that's why I wrote the note, because I didn't know what was going on. No, I never felt anything like that before. So, it's to that extent. I mean, I already have a cough, and I'm like, whew, I feel dizzy, but not like that. Um, so that's what that is. The of course I talked about this being septic and the O2 and everything else. Um, no, the carb ball. I know when I start talking about this at the beginning of the video, I take the Taxol and the carbo. Those are my chemo treatments. My chemo treatments lasted about 2.5 hours. As soon as that Taxol hit my system, I'd fall asleep, and as soon as the last drop of that carbo hit my system, I'd wake up. I don't know why, but I would just stay asleep. A lot of them thought it might have been the Benadryl, but I can the exact same Benadryl they gave me in the hospital, or the at the oncologist. I could take it home, and it won't do anything to me. Like, it's not. So it wasn't that. None of that stuff, NyQuil, none of that stuff ever puts me out. So it wasn't that. And I've even tried the Benadryl since then to see, and it still doesn't put me to sleep, even when I want to go to sleep. So anyway, so the Taxol and the Carball, the issues with that is about my third treatment in. The one night I didn't get a lot of sleep, or whatever, and when I switched over to the Carball about halfway through, I woke up, and when I woke up, I had to use the bathroom. But man, I felt like a truck had hit me. Like, I felt really like just no. I just figured it was because I hadn't slept the night before and I crashed. Like, I was just really like, I just can't do this anymore. But I went to the restroom, and I came back and laid back down, and I felt better, and I went back to sleep and let them finish my treatment. That's how it felt this last time when I had my last treatment, and I had the allergic reaction. What I'm thinking is, because they say a lot of times about you, a couple treatments in, about your seventh treatment is when people, if they're going to have an allergic reaction, have it to it. I'm thinking my immune system was just, at the beginning, I think it was still having allergic reactions to it, but my immune system at that time was still strong enough that it was able to fend it off. I think by the end, it just couldn't do it anymore. So that when that last carbo treatment hit, that's when I that's when I had the allergic reaction. And that's one of the biggest things with people. I'm glad it lasted that long, that I was able to fight it off and not have the reaction to the end. Um, because maybe that was the chemo that helped me. Maybe that's the drug that was good for me, that was really doing something for my system. Because when people do have allergic reactions, they don't just stop your chemo; they try to switch you to different types of chemos. Uh, you know, with the testing and from the samples they took from my lung biopsy, those are the ones that were best suited for what I had. So I'm thankful that I was able to make it through, even though I had that scary experience. The guy who normally does my blood work, who draws my labs and flushes out my port, I don't remember his name off the top of my head, and I wish I did. But I actually ran into him when I was in the hospital one of the last times. He said, "Hey," I said, "I remember you." He said, "Yeah." Um, he said, "Yeah." He said, "We talked a little bit." He said, "I had to give you that EpiPen." He said, "That's the first time I ever get." He said, "That was the first time I ever had to give an EpiPen." He said, "That was quite an experience for me." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, that was the first time I ever had to get one." I said, "It was quite an experience for me, for me too." So, yeah, it was. But it's nice to be able to laugh about some of that stuff, now. But there's been a lot of support. My wife's been helping a lot, and as far as either the little stuff, like, and the big stuff too. I mean, she's a trooper, but we get on each other. It's someone being sick in the house is trying. I mean, it really is. And then on top of it, she's sick as well, just in some different ways. She had spinal surgery the year before, in February, the February before, right when the COVID started. Um, she had spinal surgery. She had a pacemaker a couple months before that, and then she had spinal surgery, so she was in a neck brace, and she was in that for a long time, and then COVID hit, and I took off to help her out, and to make sure that I wasn't bringing COVID home to her because of just being in the hospital for major surgery. Um, and then as she was just, at least getting out of her neck brace, she still has some issues, with, you know, walking and stuff like that. As her hips hurt and she's limping around and some tremors and other things that are going on. She gets instantly tired. Uh, just a bunch of stuff. I'm not gonna go into everything. It's that's going on with her, but she'd help. I mean, it was hard for oddly enough for me to. Oh crap! I don't know when this other one stops, so I'm gonna try to back up a little bit. Um, but anyway, there were some issues with, she's been a champ. I mean, there were, she had her surgery in February. That was when the COVID came around. Prior to that, a couple months earlier, she had the pacemaker. And she had this is major surgery in her spine, so she was in a neck brace. I took off to help her out, and also because I didn't want to bring the COVID home to her. So work allowed us, to go home without pay, because of the COVID. So I took advantage of it for that, and for the obvious other reasons for helping out, to make sure that she was able to get better and get the things she needed. Um, and that way if anything happened, I was there, make sure she was just whatever. There were some other issues going on with her, and even though she's out of the neck brace now, she's had other issues with hard time walking or tremors, and then some other stuff going on. But I'm not here to discuss those things. But the issue is that while I shouldn't say the issue, but she was helping out with like some of the little things, like I'm done with my food, I'm done eating, she'd get my plate. Like if I'd go out and sit on my recliner and I would eat something, just even if I'm not eating anything, sometimes just getting out and sitting down and getting situated and putting my drink down and getting back in the chair, and like by the time I do that, I'm exhausted. You know what I mean? I would do the same thing in the hospital. Like I would get up and they'd let me go to the restroom. I wasn't locked down on my bed or anything as far as bed alarms or anything. They would let me go up because I always told them that like, look, I'm not gonna mess around. If I can't do it, I'll let you know. I'm not gonna force it and fall. You know what I mean? I don't mind being in the hospital, but I don't want to make my situation for myself where I'm putting myself in the hospital longer. Like I'll be there for as long as they say I need to be there, and then I'll go home. So I'm good either way. Well, so I'd go to the bathroom and then I'd come back and I'd get in bed and they'd come in. I'm like, "You okay? Like, you sure you should be walking to the bathroom because you're so out of breath?" I'm like, "No, it's getting back in bed. Pull the blanket back, get up, scoop myself up, move around, turn around, pull the blanket over." Like by the time I was done, I'm panting. Like getting up in the walk wasn't even that hard for me. So those little things, even though they're little gestures that my wife would do, like pick up the glass or the cup or get me another drink, like it helped just because, what I mean? If she didn't, it's so much more of a hassle, than what it seems like. But then on the other hand, then I feel bad because I know something she's doing it. She's limping around too. Um, so luckily on days that it seemed like I was the worst, she was better. On the days that I was better and then she was the worst. So, we were at least able to bounce back and forth, with that, thankfully, to help each other out. But unfortunately, most days I was the one that was worse off. And I'm not one of those guys to be like, you always see those memes online where the guy gets the flu and he can't pick up the remote. Like I'm not, I'm sick. I'll go to work. I'll still be outside doing something, whatever. And this is just horrible. It's so much stuff like going on around the house as far as remodeling and other stuff I want to do, and I, I just can't. Uh, but I actually feel now that I'm actually getting better and getting back to the point where I can see that on the horizon. I do know I'm still going to have effects from the radiation and chemo for a while yet, and maybe even still be in the oxygen. But at least I know in the house, I have my oxygen with me at all times. There's either that 50-foot hose that goes with me, store. I have a portable unit, so that way if something happens, I have it with me. So I think for the most part, I think that's most of my update. So I said this was probably about twice as long as the other one. I'm definitely gonna do more videos. Um, the one day, like right before, I had got sick with, I believe it was a COVID. It's kind of hard to tell now. Everything kind of goes together. When I said I was sort of like, okay, I'm getting better. I got some stuff to be able to do these videos. The microphone, a better light, and stuff like that. And I thought I could just sit here and and at least do something, be active in some way. So I got stuff set up, and there was some stuff to put on the walls for make stuff a little bit sound better. And I put it up. I was like, okay, good to go. And then I got sick. I mean, it was like within a 2 days time. And while I was sick, my desk is right over here, and I would come down when I could to just sit because I pay all my bills online. I think there's like one bill I don't, and I pay all my bills online. Some are automated, but others I like to pay them, myself, and some don't allow me to automate it. But either way, I would come down, and the adhesive I had used to put a couple of these things on the wall wasn't working. I don't know if because the basement's too cold. It's a finished basement, but it is cooler than the rest of the house. And they started falling off. And I literally sat here every time I come down and they'd fall off in front of me. And I felt so bad because it's like everything's falling apart around me and there wasn't anything I could do about it. Like and I sat there, and you really do. You start feeling so just like worthless. You feel like you're an empty box in the corner that someone needs to take out to the recycle bin, and it sucks. I mean, because there's so many things that you want to do or you have done, and then you can just sit here and watch it just fall apart. And it's rough. There's a lot of things that go on with not just cancer, but other people being sick in a house that puts a strain on things. Pride. There's a lot of things that I probably could ask people for. The things that I really needed, people stepped up on their own, which I appreciated. Whether it was the people on Facebook, the friends I went to school with, people from church, cards, the church helping out, the people from church helping out. Like whether it was school or church, the people from church helping out financially, or cards, or just people reaching out, or the pastor and a guy from church, Brother Eddie, come out and help with the snow. Charity helping out with the snow. The two girls, one daughter's boyfriend, the other daughter's boyfriend, Trevor and Carlos, them helping out with the snow when they were out. It just happened everybody kind to be here at the time that it snowed, except for this time, and the last time then the pastor came out by himself now. Complete Auto, they're down in Palmyra. I've been using them for years with my car, and Josh and Janelle down there. You don't find a business like that anymore, or people. If you're looking to get anything done, I highly recommend them. I'm not going to go into details, but when I was in the hospital 2 times ago, they just did a really nice gesture for me, and I appreciate that, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful to have not just businesses but friends and in my life that that are these type of people, whether it's yourself that's watching them, the people at church or whatever. So it's all appreciated. So hopefully, like I said, I'll be making some more videos. I have a couple in store and in mind. I don't know how much editing I'm going to do this one. I may just throw it up there. I'm not really. I try to edit the other ones to keep them much shorter for the people that for the people that just want the update. I know a lot of people kind of they watch so long and they bail out, which I get that. But I know there's a couple of you that might just play in the background. But I have some other, like I said, videos coming up that are a little more interesting, much shorter. I'm trying to work on some more like some 10 videos. But hopefully a little bit more interesting if everything goes well, and maybe I can have some fun with this. Actually, do something while I'm sitting here, waiting to get totally better. But I do plan on a full recovery. I gotta lose some weight so I can actually move around because at this point uh, by the time I get done I made a BLT upstairs earlier. By the time I peeled an egg and cut it, sliced it, put 3 pieces of bacon in the microwave and waited for them to finish, and put some mayonnaise and lettuce on the bread, I had to sit down. My back was killing me, and I hadn't done anything. It just the mere fact of standing was too much for me for that length of time. So I got a way to go yet. Plus the oxygen, they said they said it might be 6 months. So hopefully not, but we'll see. So if you made it to the end, uh, bravo, good for you. Matter of fact, if you made it to the end, comment below and let me know that you made it to the end. I'd be interested to know who made it this far. All right, see you.